Well, the help's a little slow this morning. She called me about 20 after 7, said that they finally had their last calf up there. Out of a 2-year-old. She's been waiting for this cow to, well, heifer cow now, to calf for the last week. Udder's been stuffed, been loose enough to drive a freight train through. Typical heifer stuff. Well, apparently this morning was the morning. It says the teeth are completely covered in membrane, so that means it's like 2 weeks early. It said the lungs sound good. Well, that's always a good plus. Apparently this 2-year-old just ain't got it figured out yet. Get it close to it, and all she does is kick the living crap out of the calf, so. My wife and number 2 are up there now. Well, they should be by now anyway. Oh, it's almost 9:15. See, the neighbor cut some hay over there. Looks pretty bleached from here. I don't know when he cut it. Yeah, you know, with all our moving around equipment this winter, making room. Yeah, nice you to get on your own side of the road. Gotta love these people. I'm taking up, well, this thing's got axles sticking out, so I'm taking up 10 feet. This isn't over 16 feet across here, really. Actually, it might be 18 feet. This is a narrow stretch. So, anyway, I'm going up to get the hay mower on, which I've wanted to do for the last week. I would have been up there and got it already, but this morning I kind of had to feed cows some small bales. So, you know, that's, especially by myself, about a 2.5 hour venture, feeding that many bales. Because I haven't been able to get somebody else to do it lately. And what else? I guess that's about it for now. I'm going to let you go before I go up the hill, because then I got to play with the gear shift, and that doesn't leave anything for holding on to the phone. One thing, I don't care how big the tractor is, find a good gear at the bottom, because you ain't going to shift going up these not very well. Unless you got a power shift, then you can shift down. I get a chance to see a couple of RA fields here. We got a patch back there by the neighbor that cut, and we got a patch right here. Looks like somebody drove around the field again. I got to talk to the owner about that. Bad thing is, well, he died suddenly, not here too long ago. He was about my age, had a massive heart attack. So we still got the place. His wife's still good with that. And here's where I'm going to let you go.
Well, guys, this was our surprise this morning. Our last 2-year-old had her baby, a little calf. No, she was not thrilled about it. Hence why I'm standing in her way. At least he's up and nursing now. He is 2 weeks early, so we'll see how this goes.
Boy, good job, buddy.
Well, I had to call in reinforcements. I needed some shots that I didn't have, and it was just easier for her to bring a little bag of colostrum over so you can get him some colostrum.
Hey, Mama. Hey, hon.
The cow, you wouldn't believe this, but she's a Pennscower Hereford cross. And he is quarter Pennscower and 3/4 Hereford.
Easy, hon. Put your head back on the
Spitting image of mommy. She already tried to kill him a couple times this morning, so I think it looks like we got a bottle calf on our hands.
You're
We
on
took
a
to
roll,
it,
bud.
like,
Here,
it was
can I take that for a
candy.
second?
Cow didn't want anything to do with him, and I'm afraid that she's going to kill him. She already tried drowning this morning. So we just did a makeshift little pen for now. So now he's by himself. He'll be getting bottles now. And Mom will be going in my freezer. So he seems to be doing better. His gums are what's worrying me. His breathing, we got that pretty much under control, I think, right now with all of the medicine that he just got. And he's already gotten 3 pints down. So he took to a bottle with no problems. So we'll keep you guys updated.
I'm pretty sure you've all seen this in a video by now, except some of the newer folks. H7230. They call it a 10-foot 2 or a 10-foot 4 cut. The only thing I dislike about this machine is those rubber rolls. We got away from rubber rolls, oh God. Well, whatever year it was that John Deere came out with a 1327 disc mower. And there's the 216 rakes and the 1075 bale wagon. When John Deere came out with the 1327, we had the first one that was actually in Oregon. New Holland dealer dropped the ball. They had two, they were all brand new. Disc mines had just come out. They had two coming in, and Dad says, well, that old 1469, we've rebuilt her about 10 times, and she's pretty much time to move on. He says, what do those got for PTO on them? And we ordered both of them with a 540. And he says, the only thing I got to run it on's got 1,000. Do they offer it in 1,000? Oh, yeah, we can do that. So they changed the order, put our name on it, and ordered one with 1,000 RPM PTO. The day they came in, another guy that makes hay in the area happened to be in there when they come in on the truck, and he says, hey, take that one home with me. So they literally, he put the money in and the cash then and there, and it was sold, and it was one with 1,000 RPM shaft. And we didn't even find out about it from them. We found out about it from what used to be a good dealer at the time. Our John Deere dealer used to be called Hillsborough Implement. Locally owned, homegrown boy. And they were actually probably about the best dealer in the area then. And his salesman we dealt with, he come out and he says, I understand New Holland sold your mower out from underneath you. We're like, what? We hadn't even heard that it came in yet. He said, oh no, it came in. Ted was in there when it came in. He bought it. It's not even there. He says, but hey, we just got a green one in. Well, the problem with the 1327s is they did not make them in 1,000 PTO. So, once again, this back then was a dealer that would do anything and everything to make it work. I think it was about an 1,100 pound adapter that hung right there on the shaft. We said, that ain't gonna work. Oh, we'll make it work. Okay, so it's hung off the 3-point. It's got, about 100 acres into it. It broke the shaft off the tractor. At the time, we had a 70-50 Alice Chalmers that we were running it on. They had a 70-30 that was sitting in the corner of their lot. And the 70-30 had the 540 or 1,000. 70-50 came straight 1,000. Well, they did a little research, and all the guts were the same. All you had to do is unbolt it, slide it out, swap them. So they gave us the parts. We gave them a broken shaft, and they took it home and stuck it in the tractor so it didn't have a hole in the back of it. I think they sold it that way, actually. Well, either that or they did get a shaft, but they didn't get the 2-speed. They just got the single. I know it left as 1,000 when they sold it. So we ran it on that for the lifetime we had that mower. Then when we had issues with cutting, because generally our grass hay crop here is at least 4 ton to the acre, single cutting. Anywhere from 4 feet to 6 feet tall, thicker than thick. And it had the impeller conditioner, and it was too close to the cutters. So the conditioner, if it was leaning in at all, the conditioner would grab it, and you'd burn off a $70 belt in about 2 seconds. And we actually went through as many as 4 belts in a day. And the only way to overcome that was to go faster. Well, you're cutting at 10 miles an hour and you run out of power, and then that sucker catches and still takes the belt off. We ended up with a few suits from deer out on a rainy day, laying in the ditch right in the front of the barn. And I laid down there with the boys and say they're in their suits. And I said, here's where you need to change things, boys. I said, move that impeller back 4 inches and move it up 4 inches. And I said, you'll have a machine that'll cut hay. And I believe it was a 1460 was the next one come out. And the day they came out, we traded. They came in and went in and laid down on the ground in the dealer and got my tape measure out. And they did exactly what I said they needed to do. And the only reason we got rid of that machine and got this one was after 5 years of running. And back then we were cutting 500-600 acres of hay at least. After 5 years of running, the CV joints and the drive lines went. And when they went, of course they made a mess, twisted the hell out of the drive lines. Didn't beat the machine up, but there wasn't anything left of the drive lines. Do you think deer had a single drive line in the country? No. Do you think there was a single one in the world? No. By the time they called to order drive lines for us, since there wasn't any, there was a 6-week back order. This is middle of June. Hay's got to get cut. What's 6 weeks do to you? And even the local driveline service, they couldn't get the parts for it. Why? Because the parts hadn't been made for it. So we traded on this thing. There are certain aspects I like about this. There's certain aspects I hate. I love the cutter bar. It's segmented. The thing I don't like about it is we somehow had a plug get knocked out of one of the cutter bar gearboxes once. Fried the gearbox. Took the two next to it out because the shaft kind of messed things up. And those rolls. But otherwise, if you got to work on a cutter bar, it's nice. Put a jack under both sides of where you got to split it, pull the tie bolts out, and you're there. I mean, I've changed the gearbox in this thing in like half an hour. It's not that bad a deal. And if you hit something and it doesn't take the gearbox out, what I've been told is the H series was the first of them. The coupler between the turtle and the gearbox, instead of having full spline inside it, there's only 5 splines on it, and it's on like a 30 spline shaft. So the idea is you spin that coupler and you don't break everything else. And it does work pretty good. Sometimes when that happens though, with the other discs spinning, you end up ruining 2 or 3 discs. But that's a lot cheaper than the gearbox. And I wasn't going to make a freaking 8-minute video out of this, but hey, there it is. I'm going to head back down, and I got one little issue. I went to swing this thing out and make sure that was going to work. And I had the valve open at the cylinder, so it should have swung. It moved about a 1/2 inch and stopped and came back, and that was it. And for some reason, this line is tighter than tight after releasing, and this one's loose. I don't know why. But it's going back to the shop. It's got to be there anyway. And this up here is what we disced really light because the landowner wanted us to not go deep. Well, we've farmed the place for over 30 years. We never got back up here to do anything because that's the way it worked. That there looks pretty decent. Fair amount, looks like mostly wild oats, but fair amount of oats. But most of the place looks just like that. A month ago, most of it looked, kind of like part of the driveway here. And usually he gets this mowed off, but apparently he's not getting out to do anything anymore. Wished I would have known. The whole driveway looks like this, and we just put 2 loads of rock on it last year, and I spent 2 days up here getting the driveway fixed up. Now it's all grown up. Anyway, that's enough. In case this is the end of it, you know the routine. Hit the like if you haven't. Hopefully you like it. Hit the subscribe if you haven't. Hopefully you like to do that too. And I may get a hay cutting video later today. We'll see. This has got to get cleaned up and got to get greased. And it's already getting later in the day than I wanted it to be. So thanks for watching. A real quick shot to end the video with. Crimson's getting the swath now. That's about right. I don't know if this is where they're starting or this is where they're ending. I haven't talked to them for a while, but I'm assuming they just did that while I was up on the hill getting the mower. They run 2 or 3 machines. I believe that's a 16-foot cut. You can get by with that when you got real big combines. Anyway, thought I'd show you that. That's right across from the shop.